everyone, we're back again this week on the Art Talk with Miss Virginia Jourdan. She has just put up her third piece in the CoBiz windows, and it is called Liberty and Justice for All. So before we get into the talks, which I always enjoy, last week you got to do it with Miss Marva,
Yes.
which I just love y'all's dynamic. It's like the cutest thing ever. So we talked a little bit about what inspired you for the previous piece, which I believe is Ruby Bridges.
Yes.
Okay. And then this one is Liberty and Justice for All. So go ahead and tell us about it.
So Liberty and Justice for All, this was inspired because the Statue of Liberty, there was a story about it being an African woman, right? And the story is that when it came over from Europe, that New York rejected it because it was an African woman. And it was redone again. So I kind of researched this story. So they're saying that that is a rumor, but part of that story is true, that the Statue of Liberty has a chain around the ankle, and the artist who designed it used a woman of color, a brown woman. Yes, but it does also represent freedom and freedom of the slaves. You know, so even though they're saying that it's a rumor, that it really wasn't a slave woman, in that story there's still some truth about it not being a white woman. And it is about freedom of slavery.
So I had no idea. This is what they say, they don't tell you enough in school. I had you know what kind of power that is, to know that the original Statue of Liberty may have been frameworked behind a black woman? You know what kind of power that gives a community to know? See, this is why you're important. So this, because I had never known or heard of that the Statue of Liberty was crafted after a black woman. I'm gonna say a black woman, because if they had a chain on its ankle, it was a black woman. It was a whole black woman. So this is your reimagining of what that original statue may have looked like.
Yes. So I am actually representing the black woman as the Statue of Liberty, and really invoking the need for freedom, and also the power that the black woman has as well.
Say that.
Exactly.
And so, we get into these conversations with art, and sometimes there is no representation with the black male, right? And so in this painting, how would you encourage black men to see themselves in liberty and justice for all? I know that's a big question, but I know in art we can interpret it as we see self, right? A lot of the times it comes from our own experiences, and yes, it's what's deliberately in front of you, but then there's also your attachment to a piece as well. So how can, if they can, a black man or a black boy see themselves in liberty and justice?
Well, behind every good man, there is a good woman.
Period.
Drop the mic.
And on that note, thank you guys for tuning in. So to see that is the support system within the household is the woman. That freedom, that liberty, that justice is woman. So having that, and you're okay, I see the correlations are coming together. I like that. What else about this painting can you tell us?
Well, the other thing about the painting is I used to do like realistic work. I do portraits. I still do that, but I wanted to loosen up a little bit, and so I got inspired by another colleague of mine, an artist named Al Johnson, who lives back east, and so my background, I wanted to use a lot of just colorful shapes and nothing representational. I didn't put the ocean or anything in the background, but just a lot of colors. It also, in those shapes, you can also see a couple of other women in there. Yes, so that's pretty much. And then also there is a heart that I've been using as a symbol in a lot of my paintings, which represents love, and it represents the love that we give. One thing about love too, I was just in church and we were in this school, we were talking about love, right? We talked about how you should love your enemies. Love your neighbor as you love yourself, you know, and one person mentioned, you know, you can love people from afar no matter what they did, even the Ku Klux Klan. So, and I wondered.
That is a big love.
Yeah, yes, it is a big love. So I wondered, I'm like, what does that look like? You know, so, you know, we had this whole discussion, and people were like still reciting different scriptures out of the Bible, right? But that wasn't enough for me.
Period.
Because I'm like, okay, you had African American people went through some traumatic atrocities. But as a people, we are very spiritual. We're very giving, and we're very loving people, just naturally, just spiritually as a whole. And so with all those atrocities that we've gone through, we don't harbor hate.
I'm so glad you say that, because I was really about to say, I think loving your enemy in that capacity, or loving a nation, you know, social media right now is saying, how do you love a nation that doesn't love you back? And my answer and response to it is not allowing it to have any tangible evidence on your soul.
That's a good point. That's very well said.
Right. Don't let it break, make, shape you in any capacity. Now that's hard to do. That is hard to do.
You can't deny
Marvin
that.
and I were just talking about this earlier.
Yeah.
That is hard to do, but the control of self and the love of self, the love that you have for yourself, allows you to expand kind of this force field around you that doesn't let that hate in. It doesn't let that destruction in. It doesn't let that chaos in. You see it, you recognize it, you ain't going over there. If I see a burning cross, I'm not walking towards it and saying in the name of Jesus, absolutely not. I'm going in the other direction. That's common sense. But what I can say is that I am not going to let you and your being and whatever you got going on become a part of my being.
Exactly. Very well said. And it's also, so when I look at it from that perspective, like you said, it's self-care. It's really for us.
Exactly.
You know, because to harbor hate is a very ill feeling.
You're poisoning
yourself. You're poisoning yourself. Yeah. You know, so we don't have to, interact with people that we may want to do us harm. But we don't have to harbor that hate either, because like you said, it poisons you.
And there's freedom in love.
And there's freedom in love, yes. So I believe that's what that scripture really means, to love your enemies, because it is safety and self-care for you. So
you just personified that in
so all of my pieces, I stencil a heart in there. Right, so she has a heart on her dress because it's she is beauty encompassed with love. Love. And we are love.
That is.
And you are love.
That is beautiful.
Yes.
Ashe. Yes. Ashe. I think we can end on that note. I think that was too beautiful. That is the closer. So when you guys come by CoBiz on 1503 Macdonald Avenue, Suite A, we got a big old sign on the wall. When you walk past, make sure you're feeling and embody that love that she is giving you in her pieces. I believe that art gives us the opportunity to give her pieces of ourselves to the community, to others, for people to receive it. So she has given love in every piece that is in the windows through a historical narrative of us getting to know our own background and our own history. So make sure you come by, check it out, walk on by, as we would say, enjoy the paintings, enjoy the work. Thank you so much for doing this with us.
You're welcome.
I love all my artists. Olu was amazing. You're dynamic. Like, this is just such a dope experience to be able to have. And Ms. Margot, who's right here in my peripherals, shaking her head, yes. So we are very excited to be able to have this for you guys and for you guys to be able to enjoy it. Again, walk on by, and we will be putting up your next piece next Tuesday. So you have a little time to come and enjoy the art, and we will holler at you guys next week. Have a beautiful week.
And remember, you are loved.
Period.
Period.